Here's a statement that's true, but it's not true at the same time. So when I was younger, I was taught by a teacher, as well as I saw a video, that Valentine's Day started with a massacre and a lot of violence, and that's why we celebrate it and we try to give love to one another. Now, that's not true, but it is true. There's a lot of History Channel type shows that will explain that Valentine's Day started with a war and then there was the Valentine's Day massacre, but that was just a gang thing on Valentine's Day. But there was also a Valentine's Day where somebody tried to take over the government. So there's a lot of these stories that Valentine's Day started with a horrible thing. Not massacre, but anyways, I use that one sometimes as an example. But here's the truth. Nobody actually knows how Valentine's Day started. If you Google it, they'll say that nobody really knows, but here are some pinpoints. Some people say in the 1840s it started with two couples who kissed and it went on TV. Some people say it was a marketing thing in the 1800s. Some people say it goes to the Roman festivals, but that was on a different day. And a lot of the other stations say it started with a massacre and a war. So that's the problem. There are many, many theories on how Valentine's Day started. The most, from the research I've seen, the most likely candidate would be same way that Christmas started. Christmas actually was chosen on the 25th because there was already a pagan holiday on the 25th. And so they wanted to replace the pagan holidays with Christian holidays. So they picked December 25th because it corresponded with a Roman holiday. Most likely Valentine's Day does correspond with a Roman holiday that was transferred into a loving holiday. But in the Americas, Valentine's Day is known to be started through a war, the massacre, some two couples who got married and made out. They also say it started with a marketing campaign for a bunch of stuff. So if you type in how Valentine's Day started in America, you get those stories. If you ask how Valentine's Day started in the UK, they talk about an attempt on the Queen. No, it was an attempt coup or something. They talk about that. So, as well as the Romans, but then also the French have their stories on how they started Valentine's Day. So nobody actually knows. There are answers. I mean, everybody acts like, well, I know how Valentine's Day started. Oh, you do? You were there? I had no idea that you were 1,000 years old or even 300 years old. Oh, no, but I'm smart. Oh, so how do you know? I read a book. Oh, so have I. Which book did you read? Which History Channel? Which story did you hear? What do you mean? Valentine started with two couples kissing and getting married. Oh yeah, I heard that one too. What do you mean you heard that one? Oh yeah, that's one of the that was in 1840. I remember reading in 1840 two couples got married, and that's one of the origin stories. Also, some people think it started in 1828 with a marketing campaign, but also some people believe Valentine started with a massacre, and that's why it became big is because of a war or a coup or something, and the massacre, of course. That's I saw a History Channel that's teaching children that Valentine's Day is a remembrance of the Valentine's Day massacre. Well, that's not a good example because they are talking about a bunch of people getting murdered. That's not why we continue celebrating Valentine's Day like this, but that's because that's why it's a government holiday, they say. They say Valentine's Day was made a holiday big in America after the Valentine's Day massacre, and that's when they really established it. But that's also a bullshit story. Most likely, most holidays in America and in the UK are just pagan holidays that were changed. Like, for instance, Christmas on December 25th. Yes, Christmas itself was a Christian holiday celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. But why do we celebrate Christmas on December 25th? Now, some people will tell you Jesus was born on that day, but according to the biblical accounts, you're off by a whole lot. But a lot of historians have done research and shown that around, I think it was December 22nd to the December something, it was a 7-day party in Rome. It'll be either the long or be a multiple day party in Rome during December, and it had all the same things: giving gifts, having food. It was all the same things. Then the Roman government decided to join Christianity themselves instead of being pagan, and they changed all the pagan holidays to Christian holidays. And still today, that we celebrate Christmas on the same time as the pagan version of Christmas. So most likely they were just pandering to the people, and that's why December 25th is the day. Now, yes, we are celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ, but the church does not know what exact day Jesus Christ was born on, and the Catholic Church has decided that it's definitely, positively not in December. Jesus was absolutely not born in December, the Catholic Church has said. But we do celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ in December. But the Catholic Church, if you talk to somebody who actually will get you an answer, not a straight up, like, old person asking a straight up question and getting a straight up, oh, well, no, we're celebrating it on the 25th because it's his birthday. No, we're talking about actually getting a couple priests together to have a conversation about this, or looking through the original biblical Bibles, or talking to the Pope or the actual people. They will tell you straight up that according to the Catholic Church's archives and historians and the people who have looked this up, there is no possible way that Jesus was born in December. But we did celebrate Christmas as a pagan holiday in December around the 25th, and Christmas was instated as a replacement for that pagan holiday when the Roman leader decided to turn Christian, and he started changing the pagan holidays to Christian holidays. And the Rome had a little bit of England in South England, what they used to call Britannia. In the south of Britannia, there was a little bit of Roman influence, but they were kind of not controlled. And after the Roman government fell apart, a lot of Roman leaders and a lot of these people decided to stay in Britannia. And so most likely when these Romans who celebrated these pagan holidays that are now considered Christmas on December 25th, and they started the Britannia government calling it Great Britain instead, they probably kept this holiday running for centuries as Christmas. Then they sent a bunch of slaves and people over to America and into Australia and all over the world, and they continued celebrating Christmas during December. And then we continue it today. That is the historians who have done research for 20 years' opinion. Not mine. I just know there's multiple theories on any of these answers. But people like my father, they don't understand that. They believe in fantasies and one-word liners. Like for instance, they believe because they did something in the 1950s that those setups are still in place in 2024. Like, oh, people are just lazy today. They're not getting paid less than we are. No, they just need to save money. Yeah, that 80 hours they work and all their money went to rent. No, they're just lazy. They could go to college anytime they want. There's all these opinions that are based upon people thinking they know something, but not having an open mind to realize that there's more to any answer. Like, for instance, one thing that I see commonly, somebody will give an answer. Well, I did this because of this reason. But they'll have there's multiple reasons for any action. So then somebody will ask, well, I also had this reason. And then they'll call them a liar or say, see, you changed your answers. No, I gave you more than one reason for why I did something. That's not changing the answer. If I said I went to Hannaford's and then I said I went to the fun store, that would be two different answers. But if I said I went to Hannaford's because I wanted cheap food, and then I said I went to Hannaford's for healthy food, that doesn't make either statement a lie. Maybe I went for Hannaford's because it's close, it's healthy, they're cheap, and I have a Hannaford's card. Maybe all four of those were reasons why I went, and then I just gave you one of the reasons, and then somebody else asked later, and I gave them, well, it's healthy. You know, that's how that works. You might have multiple reasons to go to Hannaford's. Doesn't mean you're lying. But see, people mix that up. If you make a statement like, I went to Hannaford's, but then you say, I went to Fun Zone or some crap like that, those are two very separate statements. Those aren't two different reasons. But if you're giving reasons why you did something or things that you believe in, and then you have more beliefs that are with those beliefs, if you have stuff like that, they're all true. And you're just trying to give more information. That's more information to paint you a better picture of understanding. But a lot of people don't understand nothing. They're in their own little world and they just selfish, greedy, and they're out to help themselves to everything, and they don't care who they hurt to get it. My father was like that. He didn't care if he cut off my education as long as he could profit. He didn't care if I was being punished to a room or if I was called the raggedy kid or if kids were beating me up or because of his choices, like if I wasn't allowed to go clothing shopping or something like that. That made me an outcast of the program because I'm the only kid that isn't allowed to go clothing shopping. He didn't care what the consequences were for his choices on me. He didn't care if he lied to Social Security and got me thrown out of my housing at 19. He didn't care if I missed my classes that were supposed to help me get my first apartment, figure out how to reapply for Social Security, and figure out how to make a budget with Social Security's balance. Instead, I'm going to classes separate to that are the wrong route because he's lying. My father never thought once about how his choices would consequence or hurt or cause damage to my body or my life. Instead, you know what my father thought about? How does this benefit me? 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 And then when something he had to do, like get braces, he would think, look at oh my God, I have to pay. Look at how this is unbenefiting me. This is costing me money. Look at this is how unbenefiting me. Look at how much I'm losing here. So that's the way my father thinks. Look at the money I'm spending and how can I benefit me? Instead of thinking, how can I do this the right way? How can I make sure that I don't put my consequences on somebody else? Instead, he's trying to be an accountant and he's trying to better his own life at the risk of other people's lives without even thinking twice about it. And that's why today he has no good answers. The only good answer that he tries to use is, it's a lie, it's a fantasy, don't believe him, he's mentally ill, just listen to his voice, he's crazy, yeah, he's crazy, just talk to my son over here that wants an inheritance off of me, yeah, and don't believe anything my son said for 15 years about my mother, only believe what he's saying now, yeah, now that I'm 89, and yeah, ignore everything else that was said in the last 15 years, just listen to us now and our story now, yeah, we're going to ignore everything else. We're just going to ignore all the truth, and we're just going to go with this now because it benefits me. And then if it doesn't benefit him and it goes bad, then he'll change his tactic, and he'll try to do something else that benefits him at the risk of my life, at the harm of me. Like, for instance, when I won a swimming medal, and they had a choice to make, they could say, good job, and boost my self-esteem. And that was my swimming medal that I won in the orphanage. But my mother said she never saw the swimming medal before, so she thinks it's stolen. Now, they don't know anything because it was won in the orphanage. So they don't know anything about this medal. Now, they have a choice to make. Do they try to get more information? Do they try to get understanding? Do they say good job? And do they wait to see what more information they can get? Do they ask questions and try to get more information? No, they jump the gun. They go, well, there's no pool in the orphanage. We didn't see you in it. You're not athletic. It must belong to African American kid. You're a thief. You're a liar. We're taking this from you. And look, your old last name is on this. So you must be writing your name to get back at us. We need to put you on more drugs. Now, what would the consequences of my mother and father doing that be? Well, you're killing your kid's self-esteem, so he might have more trouble with sports. You're causing mental health damage to his brain, as well as you're getting him medications he doesn't need because you're fantasizing at the doctors. You also might be hurting another child because now you're trying to give another child a medal that's also from an orphanage, and he doesn't like Zach. This is a competition. You know what I mean? Like this kid is trying to get Zach to cut up carpets and stuff with him. So this is a competition over here for sure. So you could cause all different types of problems for these children doing that. Okay, well, let's think of it the other way. Let's say it's stolen and you make a mistake saying good job and you wait on it. Let's say you do that. What's the worst thing that could happen there? Somebody comes up asking if you saw their medal. That's it. That's the worst case scenario. You ask your child more information. He tells you he won it in the orphanage. You say, where? Oh, at a pool. What pool? Oh, they brought me to some pool. Now, later I learned that was called YMCA. Anyways, okay. Well, why is your name on the back? Your old last name. Because that was my name in the orphanage, of course. Oh, that makes sense. And who gave it to you? One of the young staff members. Oh, okay. Well, why was it in your Lego box? Because that's where the staff told me to put it so the other kids don't steal it. Well, why didn't we see it come in the house? Because it was in the Lego box. Oh. Okay. Well, now we have understanding. Now we don't have to destroy somebody's mind and body because we asked questions and we waited on it and we did the right thing. See, when it comes to bad harm to your child, you never wait. If your child's having an overdose on the floor, you shouldn't let him sleep it off. If your child loses his vision, don't let him sleep it off. If your child loses his speech completely, his breathing slowing down and he passes out, you don't let him sleep it off. If your child's bumping in the furniture for 10 years, you do not believe your wife when she says it's self-harming when he's bumping in the furniture. If your son jumps in a pool and cuts the back of his foot open on an accident when he's jumping in a pool and there's 10 witnesses that see that, you don't let your wife talk to doctors about it being self-harming and suicidal behavior. Why? Because that causes immense harm. If you wait on those things, then your child might be in pain, not be able to work when he's older. He might not be able to collect his Social Security. Maybe he can't drive a car. Maybe even the shelters won't let him stay. Maybe he'll have to live in the woods dying. He might even die of exposure. He might even get more and more serious injuries until the day he dies. I have had all those things. But my father wants to wait when harm is coming to me. So more and more harm comes to me. He wants to wait and wait and wait and wait because his life benefits when my body is getting harmed. He gets more oh, I get a Social Security check now. Oh, I get to get him away from me. I can throw him into a hospital or an institution now. Oh, I can get rid of this kid now. So his life gets easier as I get more harmed and my life gets harder. When he wants to take a vacation or when he wants to do something like put me in New Mexico, I'm missing out on education, health care. But what is he doing? He's getting more vacations. He doesn't have to spend as much money on me at times. He doesn't have to hear a kid. He doesn't have to be responsible. They can drink as much as they want. So when they do things like this, it damages my body, my life, my health, my mental health. Even my medical records become fraudulent and fucked up. But his life becomes easier, more fun, and he can have good times. So when it comes to those situations, he wants to wait as long as he can and cause as much damage as he can until people start coming to him, and then, oh, now I have to do something. But if something could be done good for me, like let's say that I am showing him a swimming medal and his wife is acting crazy and he wants to punish me or they want to do harm to me or they jump the gun, they go straight for it, they don't ask for any context, they don't try to get any information. Instead, my mother makes up a story, my mother gives that story to my father, then my mother comes up with more details, like for instance that swimming medal. The first detail was she didn't know where it came from. So she asked me where it came from. I told her the orphanage. Then she made up another fantasy. She says there's no pool at the orphanage, so that means I must be making up fantasies and I stole it. So now she came up with a second made up thing. Then she looks at the back of the medal and sees my last name on it from the orphanage. Then she goes, oh, he must be out to get me because he has attachment disorder. Yes, this little 5-year-old is out to get me, and he's writing his name on things because he's out to get me. So she comes up with another fantasy. Then she makes things worse by saying, we should give him medication because then this will stop. And then I'm crying in another room as my mental health is affected by this woman's behavior. But do they wait? Do they jump in and say, stop this behavior? Do they wait like they do when I'm getting harmed? Because when I'm getting harmed, when bad things are happening to me, they're willing to wait for years and months to do something. But when there's a medal, an accomplishment that I won, and I'm showing it to them, do they wait to jump to conclusions? No, they don't. Instead, they just totally attack me. They get me drugged and medicated, and my mother comes up with all these fantasies sticking in my father's ear. And she also tries to trick him by giving him a little confusion. Like, for instance, when I was in Worcester, I helped out and had a great day at school. They were praising me, going, you did such a great job, you helped out another student, blah, blah, blah. So they wrote a good letter home, and they were very happy. They had me read it. I go, oh, that sounds great. Yeah, that's fine. And then I bring it home. But my mother, at the end of the letter, she tries to take things out of context and mix them around. Now, if you read the letter beginning to end, just as it is, it's very clear what it states is I did a good job. But she doesn't, she's going, I don't understand. How could you do bad? I'm like, bad? What are you talking about? She's like, the top part says you did good, but what's this? And blah, blah, blah. And she's taking stuff out of context. Then she shows it to my father, and she tries to start screwing with his head. He goes, no, this means this, and this means that, and this means this. How about you just read the letter exactly as it's supposed to be read? How about that? You read it beginning to end exactly as the context has stated, instead of just picking out a couple words and a couple sentences and adding meaning where it's not there. But of course, my school knows I did a good job, and the teachers know I do a good job. So, then my mother writes a furious letter. What do you mean by this? And what do you mean by that? So I bring that letter in. The teacher who wrote the letter, he gets scared almost from reading it. He goes, Zach, come on over here. What does your mother mean? Did something happen at home? You did great yesterday. What is she talking about? I said, I don't know. He goes, is there something wrong with your mother? And I go, oh yeah, she does this. When good things happen, she acts crazy about it. Well, I'm going to call home and I'm going to tell her you did a good job, and I'm going to talk to her about this letter. I go, okay. So I take the bus home. My mother's furious, all mad at the school, but she's not mad at me, and she's just giving me evil looks. So I go up, I go to sleep. She doesn't talk to me about it. She's misinforming my father, I'm sure. I'm sure he's going, that school is crazy. I'm going to get him out. I'm fighting with that school. Because the school is telling her that she needs to stop this crazy behavior. They've said it multiple times to her. You need to stop these crazy behaviors, Patricia. When your son does good, don't act crazy and punish your son when we say he's doing a good job. I mean, it was a lot more to that. It was like explaining how I did a good job. I did all my classes. And just full. The whole letter was good. From beginning to end, it was all good. But there was a couple words in a sentence where if you took it out of context and you put meaning to it and you added your own ideas to it, you could kind of make it sound like something else. but you had to ignore the rest of the letter. You had to not read it beginning to end. You had to just, there was a bunch of mind tricks you had to pull. And then she tried to show this letter to Dad, and only having him read that and confusing him completely in the circles. But luckily, the school knows the truth. I know the truth. So the school called home, and now my mother's furious because they told her the truth, and she goes, no, 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 no. And the school is like, yes, 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 yes. Your son's doing good. Wow, this is the most craziest conversation we ever had with a mother. We're trying to tell you your son's doing a good job last night, and you're furious with us, asking about why we wrote a letter like that. Meanwhile, we tell you there's nothing wrong with the letter. We read the letter's fine, beginning to end. And then the mother says, well, what does this sentence mean? And then they say, you're taking that out of context. And then the mother says, no, I'm not. And they say, this is the craziest conversation we ever had with a mother. And then that's how that probably went. I've known my mother a long time, and that's how that went. But anyways, I wasn't home. So I got home. My mother's furious with the school. She hasn't talked to me about it. The next day I go to school. When I go to school, they go, we tried our best with your mother. I go, okay. And they go, we're so sorry for you. Poor kid. We're so sorry your mother's like that. We tried. We're going to write up a complaint about her behavior too, but I doubt it's going to do anything. Well, we tried. We're trying our best. So, what does my father think he knows about that day? He probably saw my mother acting crazy, me telling my mother I did a good job, as my mother tries to say I did a bad job. Meanwhile, the school's trying to call home to say I did a good job, and then they're calling her crazy for this note. So I'm having to get all sides of this. I got my father's side of it, him confused in the corner. He doesn't know which way to point is up. He doesn't know up, down, side to side. He's trying to just back my mother. Well, your mother says, and your mother says, and these words kind of, when taken out of context, mean that. So he's all confused trying to understand what Patricia is trying to manipulate him into believing. He's not trying to understand the school because he needs to understand what the school is trying to say and what I'm trying to say and what actually happened. Instead, he wants to believe like Patricia somehow knows what happened. I was fucking there. The school was there. The teacher's aide was there. You can pick up the phone, ask the teacher's aide, and he'll tell you that your wife is completely fucking bonkers. And that's what they basically told her on the phone. I'm not like that, though. They probably told her that I did a good job. Then she asked about that one line, and then they said, you're taking that out of context. And then my mother went nuts saying, no, I'm not. And then they told her this is probably a really, we've never had a conversation with another mother like this in our lives. When we write good letters home, they usually don't get all mad. Usually when their child does bad at school, they get mad. Instead, when I'm getting in trouble, my mother can never be happier. She'll act mad at first, but she's truly happy. But if I'm doing good and things are going well, my mother is furious. She's looking for something. She goes looking for trouble. She's trying to find something she can manipulate in the trouble. Like, for instance, things were going well for a while, and a friend came over in the parking in the driveway. I went inside. I cleaned the whole house like my mother said. I've been behaving well. I have a friend. I'm going to school. So I asked my mother if I can go to my friend's house in the driveway. She says, sure, sure, whatever. I end up going to my friend's house. My mother starts screaming up and down every road. And then she tells the whole family and everybody that I'm trying to run away. And then when I tell the therapist and the people, no, I got permission from her to go out. And I'm sure she heard me. The more I think about it, even though she yupped me and said, yes, sure, you can go with your friend. Sure you can. I am sure because I looked at her for a response and I made sure she was listening. So, even though she gave me those fucked up answers, one word, get out of here, get out of my face, whatever. And even though she gave me one of those, she still knew better than to drive up and down the fucking streets acting like a lunatic. And then she sees me with a friend and she screams at him, go the hell home, get home. And he's all scared. My friend was dead white when my mother started screaming at him like a lunatic. A little another maybe 11, 12-year-old boy, and he goes home, and their mother was scared of my mother too. So now those two are cut off because my mother has now freaked them both out. Everything went fine. The kids walking me back to my house, but then after they meet my mother, never again. And when I'm at school the next day and I ask them if they can come over, he tells me, my mother says that I can't come over to your house because of your mother. But you can come over to my place. But I could never find it, and I was transferred to another school. So I couldn't figure out where his house was because my mother acted crazy and wouldn't let me find my way back. Now, was my mother happy about this running away stuff? Absolutely. She was overjoyed about it. She would act like it was a big deal, but this is what she would do. She would dwell on a made up story like I ran away, then spread it to every doctor and everybody in the family, even though nothing happened. You gave permission for your friend. You gave permission to your son to go to a friend's house. That's not anything to worry about. But see, things were going good. So my mother needed something. So when she remembered that she just yupped me and said that I could go to a friend's house, she could conveniently forget and then make a big deal. Plus, because she just said, yeah, sure, you can go to a friend's house. Yeah, sure. And my father's on the other side. We know my father didn't hear me ask, most likely, so she can tell my father that I never asked. And then she could turn this into a big, big problem while affecting my mental health. Not only am I punished for doing nothing wrong, I made my friend stand in the door I made my friend stand in the driveway because of my mother and father telling me I'm not allowed to have anybody in the house until I ask. Now this friend first needs permission from his mother to be in our house as well. So I go inside too, and I get permission to go to this person's house. So I've passed every single checklist. But then my mother is doing crazy ass shit again because things are going too well. And this was something I noticed with my mother. If things were going good, she would need to find something to blame me for right away. Something to make up. She would create something every time out of thin air. And then I would be crying in another room, all fucked up in the head, not understanding what's going on.